And the Spawn Deck does it again! Hey gamers, GamingWithMelkor here, bringing you another Clash Royale video. This is going to be another deck spotlight video, guys. My favourite kind of video, and from the views I get as well, your favourite video as well. So guys, before we go any further, can you do me a big favour if you haven't already and hit that like button? While you're at it, guys, if you're not subscribed, do me a big favour and hit that subscribe button for more amazing content. So guys, let's have a look at the deck that we're going to be using today. Oh, that is right, guys. It is the dreaded Spawn Deck. Or a partial Spawn Deck, should I say. So it involves the Goblin Hut, the Giant, the Fireball, the Spear Goblins, the Barbarian Hut, the Baby Dragon, the Musketeer, and the Elixir Collector. So guys, I'm going to show you a couple of replays on this deck, but if you hang around till the end of the battle, and I'll give you a couple of quick tips on how best to utilise this deck. So here we are at 3 replays from earlier on today where I utilised this deck and won quite successfully. We also had a 1-1 draw in there as well, which did involve an opponent which had a level 3 P.E.K.K.A, the Miner, and the Princess. As you're all aware at this point, guys, we still do not have a single, that's right, not a single legendary card. So we're going to have a look at a few of the easier victories to start off, and we will watch our first battle, and then we'll have a look at a couple of others as well. So guys, obviously we are playing a level 9, so we do have a slight advantage on the towers, but our card levels aren't drastically different at this point, so there isn't much of a difference in that respect. So we're just going to wait for the elixir to build up before we drop that elixir collector at the back. For some reason I didn't wish our opponent good luck, which isn't like me at all. So our opponent decides to fireball the collector and the tower, so I thought I would just throw down the sad face. Obviously my elixir is built up to 10, and our opponent drops down, oh my god, he drops down the mortar. So I'm not too worried about the mortar at this point. The mortar is just one of those cards that you can deal with relatively easily. And as I knew our opponent had already dropped the fireball, I decided to drop that Goblin Hut at the back as well. So as you can see, I dropped down those Spear Goblins just to take out that mortar. And I've got my Barbarians and Spear Goblins to take out that Valkyrie. Obviously that Valkyrie is only level 6. So I dropped down the Baby Dragon as a distraction to hopefully take out some of those Goblins and the tower. But unfortunately our opponent drops down the Royal Giant. Luckily my plethora of troops are just going to absolutely decimate it. Now I'm going to drop my fireball on both of those huts and to take out those Goblins as well, while the Giant goes in for that tower. So at this point we're looking in a very good position. We've lost a bit of health on both our towers, but we are going to take our opponent's tower down in less than a minute and a half. So a very good start. Now as you can see, we are continuing to push straight into that crown tower. I dropped my Spear Goblins down to take out that mortar. Unfortunately he's going to redirect and take them out before he has a chance to do that. But we are going to get some serious damage in on that crown tower, and that mortar's health is about to disappear. So at this point we have got the tower down to 440, and we do have the elixir advantage at this point. So all I'm going to do now is drop down the Baby Dragon, follow that up with the Giant, and then if I have to I will just fireball it here as well, just to finish off that tower. We're going to just fireball it quickly, and then all the Giant has to do is get in 1 or 2 quick hits for a very solid 3-0 victory. Don't get me wrong guys, our opponent did have a few cards lower level than us, and also it was against a level 9, but like I said, most of the card levels were the same, and he did have that cheeky mortar in there as well. So that was the first victory. Let's have a look at the second, which was a strange deck which involved the Goblin Barrel, the Furnace, the Musketeer, and the Musketeer, and the Valkyrie. So we're going to have a look at this one, which was another 3-0 victory again. This was against another level 9 opponent. As this time, as you can see, we do have that elixir collector again. So wish our opponents good luck. Wait till our opponent does, and then we're going to drop the elixir collector in the back. Obviously, if I have the elixir collector, that's generally always my first move. I was a bit slow on the elixir there. I'm a elixir collector there, so we did lose half an elixir point, but it's just one of those things. So our opponent drops down his spear goblins, and he also drops down the fire spirits, so he does a significant amount of damage to our tower straight off the bat, taking it down to just over 1900. Our opponent drops the Valkyrie in the back as a bit of defence, so I drop my own musketeer in the back, and then I utilise the fireball to take out our opponent's. No, I don't. I do apologise. I tried to go baby dragon, and my own musketeer in the back to take out their musketeer. I utilised the fireball there to do some damage to the furnace and to that tower. So we're going to take down the furnace here, and we're going to then have taken out by those spear goblins. So at this point we are in a slight losing position, but we do have the elixir advantage. Now dropping down that second elixir, and our opponent decides to drop down his goblin barrel for the very first time. So he uses the goblin barrel and those fire spirits to take our second tower down to 1900, but at this point I'm starting to build up a good elixir advantage. So I drop my giant in front, and I've got those two goblin huts at the back. Now our opponent just dropped down the Valkyrie, so unfortunately my musketeer and spear goblins are going to take that out quite slowly, but we're going to take it out. Our opponent, unfortunately, is going to use his... oh, no, not before we actually get the tower down. So we do get the tower down before his furnace takes out our spear goblins. So at this point, again, we're in a strong position. Our spear goblins and our musketeer are going to do some work on that tower. So I'm going to use my fireball here to take out that wizard and do some tower damage to that second tower. Though I should be probably concentrating on the main tower at this point. So at this point we've got one tower down to 15, the other down to 19, but we have got our opponent's crown tower down to just over 60. Again, I drop the giant in the front, and I drop down my own spear goblins just to take out those goblins as well. Our giant is going into the tower, and look at that plethora of spear goblins there just to support. Now, our giant alone does get that tower down to 519. So I decide to drop my barbarian hut in the back for doing it the first time in this battle. As we plod on down this left hand side, it's at this point our opponent decides to leave. He's had enough, he knows what's coming, so I just plough my troops in behind the giant for a 3-round victory. Again guys, this was against a level 9 player who did have slightly lower level troops with us in some areas, but not fully across the board. So we're just going to have a look at one more replay. Now this was a 3-2 victory. Now this was a very tough victory against an opponent who had a surprising deck really for me, because I wasn't expecting his initial push, but let's say we'll watch it and we'll show you how we was able to handle the situation and how we turned a losing position into a solid 3-2 victory. Unfortunately, we don't start off with the elixir collector at this point. So again, I wish our opponent good luck, which is the courteous thing to do. And as we've got not much else to do, we're going to drop the goblin hut in the back. And like an idiot, I dropped the goblin hut on the wrong side because our opponent did drop down that lava hound on the left. We could have obviously been in a much more advantageous position if we had dropped it on the other side, but oh well. So I dropped down my musketeer and baby dragon to take out that lava hand, but unfortunately our opponent drops down a level 8. That's right guys, a level 8 musketeer. That musketeer combined with the pups have done some serious work to my tower, so much so in its very first push it takes it down. So at this point we are in a very bad position. We haven't used our elixir collector yet and we are losing. So our opponent then decides to drop down his royal giant. At this point we're in a bit of a tight position, because so we sent our giant in down to do some damage to that tower, but our opponent does have those level 10. That's right guys, level 10 minions, something we don't have. Now our opponent is going to fireball all those goblins, but not before we get his tower down to just over 1,000. So we do send in our musketeer and those goblins to take down that tower to level it up 1 apiece. Again, our opponent does send in his musketeer, getting our tower down to just over 900. That level 8 musketeer is simply deadly at this level. Don't know why I placed the baby dragon where I had, but oh well. But it was there, helpful enough to take out some of that minion hut. Now at this point we do have a bit of an elixir advantage, so we place down our barbarian hut and we start our push down this left hand side, going for that crown tower. Hopefully, I'm hoping at the extra time we can obviously overwhelm them. So the barbarians take out that royal giant, but not before he takes out our tower. So at this point we're in a bit of a tricky position. We are only just ahead, but we are doing some work on their crown tower. So we do manage to take out their level 8 musketeer, and we have our own musketeer. So we drop down the baby dragon in front to hopefully mitigate some of that damage for those barbarians to get there. Now we do get that tower down to 1551. So at this point we decide to completely ignore the royal giant and decide to push on for the attack. So we drop the spear goblins to take down those reapers. Unfortunately the lightning does take care of them, but then I managed to drop down the musketeer as well. So the musketeer and the goblins managed to take down our opponent's musketeer, but and then combining with the giant to take down that crown tower for a solid 3-2 victory with seconds to go in the game. So guys, that was 3 back-to-back victories, with obviously 1 draw in there, which I apologise, which was against another level 10 opponent who did have the minor the lovely 3 ladies of the 3 musketeers and obviously that princess in there. It was a solid 1-1 victory, which we nearly did go on to win. So guys, let's just have a quick look at that deck. Like I said, that involved the Goblin Hut, the Giant, the Fireball, the Spear Goblins, the Barbarian Hut, the Baby Dragon, the Musketeer, and the Elixir Collector. So guys, just a couple of tricks with this deck really, is if you get that Elixir Collector, try and get it down early on in the game to give you that Elixir advantage. The Baby Dragon there is a bit of a distraction for some of the air troops and to deal that splash damage to your minions and your minion horde. Try and get your Giants up front, but make sure where possible you've got the Goblin Hut behind, and if possible the Barbarian Hut as well. The Barbarians will push that Giant slightly quicker, but I always like to try and get as many Spear Goblins from either the Goblin Hut or the Spear Goblins themselves behind the Giant. Again, you have that Musketeer on both offense and defense to support both the Giant and, where possible, the Baby Dragon. The Fireball's there to take out our opponent's Elixir Collectors, any Spawn Huts, anything like that, or any large cluster of troops that you need to deal with. So guys, that's it from me. If you like what you see, comment below, let me know. If you've got any deck suggestions for the future, comment below and leave them below as well. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and I will see you gamers next time. Take care.